back. WNST, Towson, Baltimore, and Baltimore Positive. I'm wearing my Fadley shirt, but I'm in front of Oriole Park if you're out on our YouTube and our Baltimore Positive TV channel. And, you know, I don't get together and talk much baseball these days, but Luke and I got together earlier in the week amongst some rare Oriole prosperity with the Indians and the Mets in town and some home cooking here this week. I thought, good time to get Alan McCallum on. We're quarter polling. We're almost up on All-Star game time. Not the worst team in baseball, Alan, just the worst team in the American League. 14-game losing streak. I can't imagine had I been the regular old sports talk show guy taking calls for 14 consecutive days of losing all these years into it. It turns out it's a pretty benign organization. The fan base doesn't even get mad when they lose 14 games in a row. But I've been watching a little bit more lately. My wife has had the games on. I watched the Mets game, Indians game over the weekend. So I'm tuning in a little bit. Trey Mancini's a hell of a player. Mullins is playing great right now. Mountcastle's trying to figure it out. But I wonder what you make of all of this. Where are you on the are we paying attention to the Orioles scale?
Good to see you, Ness. You're saying a lot of people don't care. I don't know. I must be looking in a different place because I saw people agonizing over the 14-game losing streak on social media and other places. Look,
maybe it just doesn't come to me like that. The people really upset about losing 14 games in a row. I didn't feel any angst amongst my people.
I mean, there are a couple things. I mean, first, this is an organization they're rebuilding, and it's a team that wasn't expected to win. You're looking at a team that certainly the pandemic has hurt them. You would have liked to have seen a little more progress at the major league level, and with no revenue coming in, it's clear they made some choices in the offseason that reflect the fact that they had to take a step back. So what could have been maybe 3 or 4 years is probably going to be closer to 5 now. I've seen.
Are you committed to that? Or, I mean, are you? Because not everybody views it that way. I mean, and I'm only saying because Moeller and I fight about everything when it regards the Orioles because he's just myopic. I mean, it's absurd. I mean, it's a Rex Barney sort of out there place for an organization that's been just dreadful for most of 30 years. But I sense that maybe not playing last year wasn't a bad thing in some way in regard to injury, in regard to instruction, in regard to players being together and booing. Like, I'm not sure that it's been bad for them. It certainly doesn't look like it's bad for Grayson Rodriguez right now or some of these cats. So I'm not sure. I would agree with the premise that it probably wasn't good. But now that I'm into it in the middle of this summer, I don't know that they were set back all that much. I really don't. I don't believe that anymore.
I think it's a matter of top tier talent versus guys that are on the fringe, right? If you're top tier talent and you're 19 to 23, taking a summer off theoretically probably doesn't hurt you that much. I mean, Adley Rutschman, how much did he rust in that period of time? Probably not a lot. Plus, you had the guys that were that had the extended farm. But if you're a fringe guy and you need all the instruction you can get, you need an opportunity for the reps. You need to face that kind of competition, and you're, let's say, 23 to 25. That hurt. I think that would hurt you. It's so I think it depends a lot on where you are.
It hurt all of them because they wanted to play.
Oh, of course.
Players, right? Yeah. I mean, yeah.
I mean, I've heard people, all these people talk about fire Brandon Hyde. Like, for what? I mean, he's got a bad bullpen. They came into the season without a starting second baseman. I mean, what? How can you even evaluate what kind of manager he actually is? I think he's probably doing the best he can with the circumstances. Now, that said, I mean, I think that you certainly can evaluate the general manager and the organization in place. Look, the whole premise of this is that the organization needed to be rethought from the ground up, which I completely agree with. I mean, that clearly what Dan Duquette was doing was making the best of a situation that was bad to begin with. And I don't think he did a bad job, but he did an incomplete job. We talked about it, where the job of a general manager is to maintain the major league level and simultaneously keep the minor leagues in a place where it can sustain. And I think that he did his best at the major league level. I don't fault him for that. And I think he actually brought some talent in at the lower level, but there was a middle place where he dealt from to keep the major leagues up.
Well, they had no international I mean, there's so many self-imposed, things. It feels like a long time ago, Dan Duquette, right? And you say things like
Yeah.
Yusniel Diaz, and wasn't he supposed to be a cake baked by now, and all of that, right?
Well, sure, but I will say, the ironic thing is that the best Rule 5 guy that Duquette got was Santander, and he came in right as he was leaving, and he brought in Grayson Rodriguez. There were a lot of good things. There are a lot of pieces that will ultimately be part of this, the ingredients for the next good Orioles team that Duquette's responsible for. That said, obviously the minor league teams are flourishing and doing well, and we'll see what comes of it in terms of feeding the major league team and continuing a pipeline that can last for another 15 or 20 years. My question is about analytics in player evaluation and player development, in the sense that all that you've heard about is that the technology and the ability should be about finding players that they can fix or improve, and who will take to the tactics and strategies and the processes that they've created through this revolutionary technology. And you look at guys in the major league level, and my thought would be, if you're getting reclamation projects from other organizations, whether it be in the bullpen, Adam Plutko, Sean Armstrong, what have you, shouldn't you be bringing them in the sense that I see something in this person that I think our technology and our abilities can help? And a lot of the times it feels more like these are just guys that are filling the suits until the real talent comes in. Is that the case? I don't know, but I know
when they lose games, I mean, my mean tweet was, it's not hard to lose when you're not trying to win. I mean, so
all I'm saying is that I would like to see that, if you're telling me that all the things in baseball have changed with the goal clearly the goal is to be cheaper. There's no question about that. And to improve spin rates, and we're playing three true outcome baseball now. Then it would seem to me that if you're an organization that's trying to be on the cutting edge, that your processes should benefit some of the players that you're bringing in who are already in the major leagues, because you found a way to do it better. And
in other words, if you believe in walking a lot, you draft guys who walk.
I'm just not sure I've seen that in the way they bring veteran players or let's say major league talent in to fill the spots. And I would like to see that more. That said, hey, you look at Cedric Mullins, you look at Trey Mancini, you look at what John Means has done. I mean, there are pieces on the major league team that are clearly going to benefit them in the future. Now, is Trey going to be here for then? Probably not. But Ryan Mountcastle, look.
That thing he did on Tuesday night against the Mets, where he poked the ball into the hole, Mancini.
That was beautiful.
Yeah, I'm like, that's special in today's game. That's special.
Yeah.
Like, nobody knows how to do that.
I keep hearing there's a discussion going on within the sports fandom about why would you keep Trey Mancini when he's probably not going to be here by the time they're good again. He's going to be worth something. You trade him and get more pieces. What's a viable answer for why you keep him? And my answer is because he is a talented hitter who goes beyond the three true outcomes, who can walk, who knows how to have a good at bat, and having a presence like that on a young team is a useful piece. It helps the mindset and the development of the players that come with him and after him. And it's infectious. it's the difference
It's hard to
between
project what he's going to be at 34, right? Or to give him a bunch of money or set him up after all he's been through. Look, Adam Jones could still be on this
uh,
team for me, right?
we,
I mean,
we,
they could be paying him, and he could have been here the last couple of years, and they could have given him 380 at bats and let him be happy and let him run around and lose instead of running to Japan. I mean, there's a lot of things baseball used to do, or business used to do, or things that they would do to be fan friendly to some degree, especially when you're not going to win.
right.
And you don't have Cal Ripken, you don't have Ernie Banks. You have Adam Jones, you have Nick Markakis type guys. To me, if you want to keep the franchise here, you might want to keep something around. I mean, you've
Well,
already
Adam Jones.
thrown everybody from Rick Dempsey to me out of the organization. You know what I mean? Pissed off
Right.
every BJ Surhoff. Ripken's not around much. I mean, like, to some degree, what difference does it make if you're going to lose 92 games in 2024, whether you give Trey Mancini $18 million a year or not? But if it means something to the fan base with someone who, I don't know, it would show me a different kind of way that they would want to do business if they kept them around. But I get the
So
validity of this. And I've said this to Moeller. This isn't why Mike Elias was brought in here. Mike Elias was brought in here to treat everybody like last night's lunch and deal guys off and win a championship, not warm the hearts of Alan McCallum and his sister in the upper deck.
and look, the reality of baseball, the reality of the sports world is that it makes sense to not be sentimental and to trade guys while they have value before you lose them. I understand that. But
Or
if you
unless
do
they're
that with
worth money and
everyone,
you pay them yourself and you keep
theoretically
them
your
because you
team will
like them.
probably be viable. But it's funny you bring up Adam Jones because he was exactly the example I was going to reach to. We all loved Adam Jones. I think Adam Jones was really good for the Orioles, but I think we all universally agreed that Adam Jones was not going to age well as a major leaguer because his approach at the plate was poor. His abilities were all about instinct and talent at the age of 26 to 27, 28, probably at 30. And then as he got to 33 or 34, he was going to regress because he never adapted to um, taking pitches and working in at bat well. That's just not what he did. Um, Adam Jones would have never got the hit you talked about last night with Trey Mancini is exactly the point. Adam Jones would never have gotten that hit, at least not on purpose. Chris Davis was never going to get that hit.
And by the way, certainly wouldn't happen when the team's up 8-2 or whatever, because the score, maybe it was only 5-2, but whatever it was, it's time for a home run.
Right.
I mean, that's the modern. It's always time for a home run. It's baseball.
And having a guy like Trey Mancini on a team like this with it's watching him take at bats. I believe is a good thing for a young, budding offense to watch. That's the approach. If you want to tell me that 3 true outcome baseball is the way we're going, that's fine. Everyone's attributing the low batting average to the cheating and the spin rate and all the things that are happening. And I have no question that's a large contributing factor. But I also know this, that for the last 3 to 5 years, every time somebody brings a batting average, I hear batting average doesn't count anymore, doesn't matter anymore in the game. And to me, that's just complete and utter nonsense. At the end of the day, baseball is about guys hitting the ball. And if you are successful at that, batting average is one of the primary ways to rate that. And when you have 3 to 5 years of everybody in baseball saying batting average doesn't matter anymore, why does it surprise anybody that the collective league average is like 236 right now? When the Kansas City
Alan,
Royals,
it's really hard to watch. Like, as a guy that has spent my whole life watching this, and my last name and my identity for a long, long period of time before, Peter decided to throw me out and nobody was going to do anything about it. I just as a product, as something to do on a Tuesday night at 7:00, we watch the news. We're making some dinner. I had some Pizza John's left over. I'm heating that up, green pepper on my side, onion on her side, and Jeopardy's on. There's some home improvement thing on. I got work to do. I'm running a company. I'm doing a crab cake tour. And I put it on, and Garceau sounds lost. And I don't mean just like watching the game on TV the way those poor bastards had to do back in April and sit in the Camden Yards freezing watching no hitters from halfway around the world. But he and Palmer, it's just the broadcast isn't any good. It's not funny. It's not fun. It's not lively. It's insightful if you're a baseball nerd, and I guess okay. I mean, it's Jim Palmer. I don't know that Scott Garceau has made an insight in his life, quite frankly. And the gal Melanie, who looks, no offense, it looks rented. She looks like she's going to work at ESPN or Fox Sports Cincinnati or Root Network San Francisco. Just looks like it's a gig. It's not Tom Davis and Rick Dempsey and whatever the fans here came to expect. And people liked Gary Thorne. I mean, I like the sound of his voice because I watched a lot of hockey. And he was a great announcer, but he wasn't he called him registers. I mean, there's no identity with any of this. The team's a little bit in peril with a 2-year lease. The amount of money they're going to want to keep the team here, I'm still very much of the mindset that, it's not that they're trying to move the team, but I don't think anybody would stop it. And I keep going back to that. I keep going back to, if you're trying to build it, build something around it that is exciting. Something, anything. Trey Mancini, Cedric Mullins, John Means, Brandon Hyde, the shell game, the ketchup races. I mean, they've got all of that happening, but I don't see any inertia around. I mean, I'm going to Bowie for a game, right? I told you the reason I even bothered you this week was that Luke and I got into it about Bowie. Bowie's got a homestand. The New Hampshire Fisher Cats are playing for like a week. I'll figure out what night Rodriguez is pitching. Hopefully it's 84 and sunny and nice and they're milking a cow, or it's margarita night or whatever it is. But I'm going to go to a Bay Sox game, I think, and I might wind up at a Nationals game in August during my tour. It's a baseball-related thing that has to do with politics and crab cakes, and so I might wind up at a Nationals game the third week. But dude, I don't have a plan to go here. And I don't know. I thought about the Mets Tuesday night. The Mets, Zimmerman was like, I don't know what's going to get me there. And it's certainly not the broadcasts. I mean, and that's the marketing arm. I mean, that's that's how Vince McMahon got me down to the Civic Center to see Bruno back in the day. It was a good broadcast. It's terrible. It's terrible.
I thought you were going to go the route of three true outcome baseball. I will say this.
No. I mean, dude, they're a terrible team. The sport is terrible. I'll get into all of that. Then there's the presentation of what comes into my living room every night, which is a bad game and a bad team. And then on top of that, which is the way I experience the game, is a broadcast, right? I'm not going to the game. I'm assuming if I go down there, it's somnambulant too. I'm assuming it sucks if you go down there and sit there because the team stinks and the game stinks and it's three outcome and the games take forever and it might rain and it costs a lot. Like all of that. I'm a little unnerved in the middle of June to think, when am I ever going back? I'm making friggin' plans to go to Bowie, dude. I'm going to go watch minor league ball because I don't know. Maybe it feels different. It's $10. I don't know. I mean, maybe it's something to do.
15 years ago, you asked the question, who's going to watch the San Diego Padres and the Pittsburgh Pirates on a Wednesday night in August? And my answer to you was probably, if that's the only game on, probably me, because the sport is great. And what I would tell you is that I find three true outcome baseball much harder to watch. I still love the sport, but the route that baseball has gone through analytics and technology has really made the game less interesting because there was nuance in the way it was played, and there's considerably
there are no rundowns anymore. There are no hit and runs. There are no stolen bases. There are no. There's no action to speak of because action is risk, right? Literally.
There's less nuance now for sure. Now, in terms of the Orioles, look, if you're an Orioles fan and I believe they needed to rebuild. I don't think there's any doubt about that. And I understand that if you're going to rebuild, it means losing. I get that.
But there's the trust in who you're rebuilding with, right? So you either trust Elias and John Angelos, I guess. I mean, he's not even out in front of the friggin' team. I don't know how the hell you could trust him. I have to go, assault him at a press conference to get a question about the future of the franchise. They signed a 2-year lease and he's taking no questions. So, you know what I mean? Nobody's really out in front of this. It's hard to convince Moeller of that, but nobody's really out in front of this. Elias seems annoyed most of the time with fans and people. You know what I mean? Like, he was okay on the broadcast opening day. I thought it was okay, actually. I actually tweeted like I learned a little bit. Yeah, he looked like he wanted to be in that interview because it's his freaking coworkers interviewing him. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
I mean, how far the bar has fallen to accountability when you're only accountable to people you pay.
You
It's
only have to
insane.
look at the minor leagues and at what's happening right now to see that they have brought some talent into the organization. Some of it was Dan Duquette, and some of it was Elias and his team.
I'm not looking to credit anybody but the cartoon bird. They're either going
but
to win or they're not. You know,
right.
it's a collective win or a collective loss. Peter looked good when they're playing in the ALCS too.
But ultimately, the question is, for me, I believe in the need to rebuild. But if you're going to put a product at this point in my life and finances and everything else in life, if you're going to put a product on the field that's designed to be bad, how much sense does it make to spend active money in that environment until it's ready to percolate, right? You're not going to start eating the turkey until the internal temperature is safe. So on Thanksgiving. So the question is, does it make sense for me to do that at this point in my life? I sat through losing season after losing season at Camden Yards with no plan, and I did it because I was young and naive and I loved the sport.
I did it on bargain night.
And then ultimately, at this point, with other things going on, there are other things that I need to be responsible for. And when the time comes to spend disposable time and income, I want to do it on a team.
If I give you 2 freebies tonight for the Mets game and we go down, is it a good time for you tonight? Would it be something like if I call you at 6:00, say come on down, and you could, you know, could
I am
break
limiting
away?
my
Would it be an enjoyable 4 hours for you?
I am limiting my risk at this point until I'm certain the concern about the pandemic is over. So I am actively not going to large crowd events except for the ones that I have to work. I think there's enough risk in that. So I think my first baseball game will probably come in the summer of 2022. But on a night in 2022, if you had an extra ticket and I had time, sure, I'd go, even if I was expecting them to lose. I love the sport. I love the team. I believe that this needed to happen, but how you go about it and what kind of product you put on the field is going to impact what kind of time and money that I'm going to put into it at this point. I'm just shy at 50, so practicality and reason are impact my thought process more than they used to, and frankly, the allotment of my time, because I think
Our most valuable resource.
I think ultimately the difference between being 20 and being 50 is the awareness of the slippage of the passage of time, and that you have less than you used to. So you should use it wisely. And that
or
is
in a way that you love and feel value.
yes, frankly, yes. And so there are pieces to that in me that are different than they were 20 years ago, which changes my answers, not because I love the sport any less, but because the reality of the circumstances are different on all sides.
How about those San Francisco Giants, huh?
Gotta love Kevin Gausman. I don't. I've heard a lot of discussion about, is Kevin Gausman Jake Arrieta, and I think the answer is no. When Jake Arrieta got traded, I screamed bloody murder because I knew he had. It was evident that there was talent in there they hadn't tapped, and it was coming. And as soon as they traded him, it emerged, no question.
Like a cicada.
Kevin Gausman. If you want to tell me that the Orioles messed up his maturation process, I can accept that as a possibility. But he's a late emerging talent.
Like a cicada.
He's on his third organization now since the Orioles. I mean, it took a long time for him to get, and that happens. That happens in the sport. Jake Arrieta they they gave up on him too fast. I don't know. I don't think that was the case with Kevin Gausman. But it's great to see. I'm happy for him. He looks great. But I would tell you that Mikey Yastrzemski never even got a chance here, and that was just a miss to me. I mean, that was just a pure miss. They never gave the guy a chance. And I would have much rather seen him in the Orioles outfield. Now that said, if you asked me what's the most exciting part of the Orioles in 2021, I would tell you a healthy Austin Hayes, Cedric Mullins, Anthony Santander. That's a legitimate major league outfield. Those are guys that can go get it and put up a decent offense, generally in the top 4 or 5 guys in the lineup. But that said, in the last couple of years, certainly in 2019, Mike Yastrzemski should have been in the Orioles outfield. But hey, there are good stories in the game, no question. Shohei Ohtani is it. I mean, where Ichiro Suzuki left off, Shohei Ohtani is picked up. He's an immeasurable talent. You hope he stays healthy. The San Francisco Giants are playing out of their minds, which is a lot of fun to watch. It's not that everything in the game is all bad, but it is a much harder product with 3 true outcome baseball than it used to be.
Alan McCallum has been my baseball pal for going on 3 decades. We were in our 20s when it all began. We're still waiting for winning baseball around here. The Garth Brooks tear moment is the highlight last week. What do you think?
I had the privilege of working 2 of the 3 live nights of the honors. One of them it started in my hall. Watching Dick Van Dyke was pretty cool. Debbie Allen is a talent that has stretched across generations of dancers. Joan Baez, you know me, I like folk music and acoustic music, and Joan Baez is.
I met Joan Baez once at the Amnesty International show at the Meadowlands back in '86. So yeah,
she's the Reverend Mother of that in so many ways. I've watched classical music my entire adult life, and Midori is every bit a piece of that. And yes, Garth Brooks. I can't tell you that I'm his biggest fan, but I recognize his talent. And everything I know about him says that he's a positive individual and has impacted.
He was very, very nice to me when I met him.
Yeah,
he's close with Barry Trotz, and I dropped that in, and he talked my ear off.
But by all accounts, he's impacted the world around him in a consistently positive way, and I think that matters.
Well, you meet Garth Brooks, and you're like, and it happens in a spur of the moment kind of way. And it was like literally a thing where we were just there and BSing, and he was as nice as he was the Garth Brooks that you heard about. You know what I mean?
You know what? I've met a lot of artists and athletes. I've gone beyond expectation that they're all going to be what you hope they're going to be. But when they are, it's a good thing. When they are, it's something you
talk about it forever.
Yeah, you remember, you tell people, because I won't say it's rare, but I'll say it's still special. It's definitely still special.
It is, man. Well, it's always special visiting with you. I wish we were doing it, a couple times a week and bitching about bullpens and who's in and who's out and the pennant race and who's in town next week and what time are you picking me up and what time's the bus leave for Yankee Stadium. But we had the 90s, dude. You know what I mean? It was good around here for a little while.
We had a good run with Buck. We had a good run with Buck for a little while there.
Yeah, it's but it's always good to visit with you. Hope we get a you don't eat crab cakes, right? Or do you?
Oh, no. I'm right there with the crab cakes. I don't eat crabs, but I love me a good crab cake.
You're so weird. I just want to say that for the first time. With cheese and the crab,
if it looks Alan McCallum rule of eating number 4, if it looks the way it looked when it was alive, you don't eat it. Rule number 3, if it was alive when you walked in the place, you don't eat it. So that for me, those govern my decisions about crabs. But I love crab cakes, no question.
All
yes,
right.
I'm weird. Yes, I'm
Who
weird.
knew? I'll have a crab cake with you. I'll have a crab cake with anybody. I mean, that's going to be part of my new shtick. Alan McCallum's been with me since 1995. before the wars, before the century, all that good stuff. I'm wearing the big B on the cap as well. Always good to visit with you, brother. Be well, all right?
You too.
Music's back, baby. Music's back. Concerts. We're going to be doing it, you and me and Alanis out on the lawn, I think on the 31st of August.
If
I
Alanis
am
is there, I'll definitely be there.
August 31st. You see the new look with her do? It's kind of like my new look. It's a different do, right?
You should have seen my hair in like July. It was special.
Do you have a fro going?
I had the biggest hair I'd ever had.
Let's go. Where's the picture, bro?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure I took one.
Have you seen my mane? Have you? I mean, this is.
It's impossible not to see it, Ness.
It's all real.
I'm waiting for the man bun.
Hold on, I haven't done it on the air yet. Are you kidding me? Hold on, man. I mean, I couldn't do this on the radio. Got to do this on the video. So here.
That's your every show, ladies and gentlemen.
Well, this is you're my last piece of the week, and my wife has Pizza John's pizza in the oven. I'd love to tell you it's a Monday, but it's not, because when you eat Pizza John's on Monday, you feel really good about it because they ain't open. So that means you picked it up on Saturdays. And does it work?
Wow.
Does that work?
I feel like I'm
Brad Pennington.
I feel like I'm looking at the lead singer of Ice House from like 1989.
I think I look a little bit more like a sushi chef or someone that would serve you sake.
I can see that. I can totally see that.
This is my Asian look. This is like when superstar Billy Graham came back from Asia and was working on, he had learned new moves. Everybody was kung fu fighting. So I think that's me. All right, man. Be well. There he goes. Alan McCallum joining us here. We went from baseball to kung fu fighting. We're all over the place. All of these formerly Wise conversations brought to you by our friends at Wise Markets. Red, white, and blue ice cream is going to be it's raspberry, vanilla, and blueberry ice cream. That's going to be on the docket next week, so I'm picking that up. And there's something for the Amish people in our life, or people from Pennsylvania. I talked to Luke Jones about it. Tea berry ice cream, TEA, like tea, like you sip, tea berry ice cream that I'm going to be trying. Apparently it's pink and it's minty, and apparently people love it in Hershey Park. I am Nestor. We are WNST.net, comparing ice creams, baseball, and just talking old guy stuff. We're BaltimorePositive.com.